Third time was not a charm. So trying it fourth time and final time. There will be a little bit of echo from my side. Please bear with it. But I just hope Reba is audible and clear, because that is what is important today. Me, you're listening to me every day, so forget about my voice. I'll just ask her the question and I'll wait for her to respond, okay? So this is going to be a video on the trauma that some women face during childbirth. And Reba is a journalist, childbirth educator and birth doula, which means she helps women give birth. She stays with the woman, motivates her, supports her throughout the process. So let's get her on board one last time.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. But it's okay.
Swati, I can promise you one thing. This will be the last time that you and me have technical difficulties. I'm going to take all of my phones and all of my headphones to the shop, stand over that boy with a stick, and make sure he fixes it for me.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Promise, Promise.
Okay, question quickly. You were in a labor yesterday. That's why we couldn't do the live.
Yes.
Tell me how it went. Was it at a hospital? Or a birth center?
So most of the births that I've supported is with the team at Birth Village.
Okay.
That's where I learned. That's where, we've had this conversation before. I'm a very firm believer in learning the apprenticeship way, like the old-fashioned way, right? And something is, I feel more comfortable if I learn from somebody who's doing it well, instead of going for 2-day class and then getting the certificate and me myself. It's because I have so much self-doubt. And I also will think, then people will ask things and I'll be like, I don't know what to say. So most of my births, how I learned to be a doula, basically from two things. My memory of my own birth, in which I had a wonderful experience. So I remember, my body remembers, my mind remembers. I draw from that. Second is my training, hands-on, which came from Birth Village. That is because I was working in the team. Circumstance helped me to be there. So this is where so most of my births have been at birth centers. The birth center a doula does not have much conflict, because everything is evidence-based. You can fully open your heart and help the mother. You have a team that knows exactly what to do. So there's no issue there, right? You can really do your job. So I've been at some of the hospital births. So when I had, it started with friends, close friends asking me, they can't go to the birth center. They have had appointments, but they could, family resistance is usually the reason why that woman could not end up going to Birth Village and having her birth.
Yeah.
Then as a last resort, because I know then they will say, can you be with me at least till here, at least till this point, till the parking lot, can you be with, whatever little women want, they want it. And it's very difficult for me to say, no, I can't, because it's very bad for me. Literally that would be the answer I would have to give them. And it doesn't seem right. So I started going. And every time I go to hospital birth, it's like with a heavy heart, like I was saying before. Heavy heart because you know that there's going to be, it's like being in a conflict zone. And if you're very lucky, you'll have only 6 out of 10 conflicts. Right? So you're always, instead of helping the mother, instead of being in that safe zone with the mother, already the mother has this fear of what is going to unfold. And my job is to help her with those fears, which I know how to help her.
Okay.
On top of that, now, if you're in a place, you have to fend, you have to defend, you have to play warrior, you have to do, it's like, directing you have to create the safe zone all the time. When the shift changes, all the work that you did with the previous nurses, you have to again you have to do the whole thing, right? So that's why I have a heavy heart when I go to hospital. But then you still say, whatever I can do for the mother, let me just do whatever. Then you accept that there are certain things out of your control. There's different levels of compromise, basically, right? Yesterday I went thinking that it was yesterday's case was so good because that mother changed her care provider at week 34. After she got in touch with me.
Reba, there's some hitting sound.
And then
nothing. Okay. Wait a minute. I'll just. He's not listening to me. He has a headphones on. Chair. I just move the chair. She's just moving it wrong.
Divya, please make birth centers in Tamil Nadu. The problem is that you cannot just make it. You have to all work together. Many levels. So then she changed her care provider. We didn't have time to even talk to the care provider about birth plan. Because she was a month early. She went into labor. The due date is July 19th. For some reason, baby went into it. So just change the care provider. Then she talked to the care provider. Okay, I want a doula. And this doctor, she says, yes, it will be so good if you have a doula. They get to Anish, this girl and I were like, oh, okay, maybe this is going to be different. And I was just getting used to that. And we were working on the birth plan when she went into labor.
Okay.
So it was a very good birth. It was the nurses are very supportive. They let you alone. No routine IV, no routine, no full-time strapping onto NST machine. So what happens? She lies down when she wants to. They don't have a problem if her fluid is leaking on the ground. So the whole vibe, right? When you talk about a good birth, no, it's not just the doula also. If every component is free to do what job they know how to do well, and all of their training is based on evidence, that's really what you want. Here we are struggling with compromises because of the system that we are in, you know. So I was just, so she was in her room till she got in there by around 7, I guess. She was in labor all night and I was in touch with her off and on. She got to the hospital at 7 o'clock. She was in her room till 10:45, 10:35, 10:40. When the doctor came and checked, the baby is already like, head is almost visible. Quickly shifted her to the labor room. By 11:06, she had the baby. By 11:36, she and the baby are back in the room. And her mother, now for this one, it is special because her sister has gone through a very bad birth. And the mother is with her. And the mother is anticipating this much horrible stuff. But witnessing a good birth is healing intergenerationally. This grandmother was just so, I can't believe it. At 12:30, she's still sitting, holding the baby and saying, I can't believe it. Like an hour ago, my daughter was still in labor. Look at what happened, you know. But there are many, many factors. But this is the reason why I was so happy. I came home in a mood to celebrate, just like I was coming from a birth center birth. There are still things that I would want to talk and understand. But despite that, despite us not being able to put a birth plan in place, despite all those things, having that wonderful, wonderful thing, it really reminded me. I mean, I think it was important that I experienced that so that I could, in Malayalam you say samanala, right? To get an inner balance to talk to all of you about this. So I think the timing was also very, very good and it was important in some ways.
Okay. So I'll just quickly ask the question because it's echoing. You said we are in a system that is compromised. What is a compromise? And why are some really traumatized?
So this is, it took me years to understand.
Just a second. Mothers still don't know what is evidence-based. So we cannot simply use these words. Can you make it really simple for our people to understand?
Yes. Evidence-based, very simple. There is proof. That is why we are practicing. The proof has already been, it has been proven. Evidence is there, proof is there, right? Just like think of it in a court of law. Your Honor, there is already proof. Okay, so whatever proof is there, following that system is called evidence-based.
Okay.
Example, quick examples. And when you follow evidence-based, women tend to have lesser trauma. That is what we know, right? For me, as a health journalist and as a birth worker, what I find beautiful is when you're making list of evidence-based, proof is here. You connect that to a woman who has never seen evidence-based but who births on her own. She does the same things, right? So let's go a few very simple evidence. Evidence means, say, from my research, I have seen studies even in the early 1970s that show that women in labor should be moving. Simple, common sense.
Simple.
This evidence is echoing what common sense will tell you. And even if you don't have common sense, if you are a woman in labor, your body will not let you lie down. It is more torture. Your body will tell you, just stand up, walk, find relief. What does the body tell you? If you sit for half an hour on the floor, you're not pregnant, sit on the floor. Will you sit like a what is it, statue? You'll keep moving. After 10 minutes, we'll move because one place the circulation is moving. Body knows. The minute you are encountering difficulty, body will tell you automatically. You don't have to process it in your mind. Automatically, and you move even without knowing it. You did not get permission from your command center and all inside it happened on its own.
Yes.
Right? Same thing in labor. Labor is just another part of you're experiencing discomfort, body will tell you to move. So whether you have common sense or whether you're an educated mother or not, if you leave a woman alone, what will she do? She will move because she wants to find comfort. She wants to find relief for that contraction. For one contraction, you want relief. If you have a bad toothache, what will you do? You don't have any medicine. You'll do this. Who's telling you to do that? What are you doing? Increasing circulation. It's basically increasing circulation. It's like you're tapping on that same gum. Right? Who told your body to do that? Who trained you? If you have toothache, jump like this. Your body just knows these things. Right? So when you're looking at proof-based or evidence-based practice in birth, most of the evidence-based, so one is to move in labor, another is to birth with gravity. Woman in labor should be eating and drinking. She should have somebody she trusts and feels safe with as a support person so she can rely on them. These all are evidence-based things. We teach them in classes. These are healthy birth practices. We teach, Lamas has a whole module on it. They are basing it on, okay, mind, proof, evidence, science. The beauty of this is, even if you don't go down that track and you let a woman be by herself, she'll do this. I'm thirsty, give me water. I feel so horrible, I can't sit down. I have to move. I want to move my hips. There is no contradiction between these two. So, you don't have to be educated to have a good birth. Actually, that is the truth. But now when we talk about the system, right? The system, what has it done? It has already hijacked our mind. Fear more than anything else. Forget birth. Forget birth. For a woman, you move to a new city. How much time will it take you to find the bus routes to go and find somebody to tell you where is the market? If you're not a very outgoing person, even when you're an outgoing person, so many layers of tension. Is that person looking at me? Are they going to grab me? A woman deals with so many layers of fear, right from when we are small, right? So we are disconnected from our traditional ways or nature itself, being out in nature. For many, many, many reasons, we are already hostages of our mind now. After you become hostage of your mind, definitely you need education to get out of it. So birth education is essential right now. But at the foundation level, you just have, if you're a woman who accepts your body, who is okay to move, who's ready to say, you don't tell me, it's happening in my body, I will decide. If you're that kind of a person, you don't have to go to classes. There's one mother who has said, she's like, I don't really want to go to classes and learn all that. When I hear a lot of stuff, that's what gives me tension.
Okay.
Maybe that's okay. Right? So when we're talking about system, we must understand that this system and our flawed thinking or our fear-based thinking is from the same system that we are trying to resist now.
Okay.
Right? It's the growth of this kind of a system. So where do we go? When I make a list of things, right? When a woman, why does a woman have a bad birth? Right? If you're really thinking about that. Because, so there are three main areas. Each of these points that I'm saying will have, each of the points you have to discuss more, you have to find out more, right? Mainly there are external factors. External factors, we know, we are surrounded in we are forced to be in a medical care system, which is not very evidence-based. So if you go back to doctors who were 60 years old, right? Who are 60 years old, you tell them
scared to talk because I let go.
Okay, I can hear your why and all that stuff. I can mind read. So you go back to older doctors, a lot of things that freak out the younger doctors, they don't freak out the older doctors. One dad who had a breech baby, he said, oh, after we had our breech baby naturally, when we went back to our native place, our family doctor, I told him, see, we had a breech birth. It was like such an amazing thing. The doctor looks at him and doctor's like, yeah, so in all of my years of practice, I've done at least 25 breech births. What is the big deal about? Right? So when we're talking about system, we must understand that in the beginning, there used to be a system that was not so fear-based. We are talking about a change in the medical care system itself. And for me as a journalist, I would say one of the main reasons is when any kind of healthcare becomes profit-based, then you have a lot of things around it. It's not just maternity care. You think about knee replacement surgeries. You talk about prescription overdoses. One of the leading causes of death all over the world is wrongful prescription. Not heart attack, I mean, on par with heart attack and diabetes. So why do we have so many drugs in here? Why is it? There was in the 1960s. This is also because we are following an American model of care. The American model of care is probably one of the worst in the developed world. For maternity, it is. America is right at the bottom of maternity care outcomes. We are not following Europe or better countries that have better outcomes. For me, as a journalist, this changed my life because many years ago I was trying to figure out why? And it all comes back to industry, profits, stocks and shares. It goes into the business aspect of our lives. So then what happens? We have to take more responsibility in finding out, in talking about this. So external system is flawed due to, because it's an industrialized system now, not really health-oriented system. That's one of the reasons. Second is there are a lot of people who are very genuine workers who don't understand these things are happening behind it. A lot of doctors, they genuinely believe that you have to have episiotomy. Right? Because when you talk about industry, you talk about the education. How are they trained? If you have seen a non-interventional birth, will you be able to support a non-interventional birth? Why am I not freaked out if a woman is going crazy and she says, so women in labor, sometimes they say, I'm going to die now. Sometimes it freaks out another person. It doesn't freak me out. Because I remember feeling like I'm just going to die now. But think of a doctor there. Think of the industry that's connected. If that is recorded, then if there is a case against that doctor, there are many layers. The whole system itself has changed so much from what it was supposed to be to here. Second external factor especially for birth, is that one system of birth cannot be good for all women. Because the WHO itself says that 75 to 80% of women are in the low risk category. 15 to 20% are in high risk category. These numbers have been consistent for years, right? If that is the case, how can I treat a low risk woman like I'm treating high risk woman? You have, you have fatigue, okay? And you go to the doctor. Doctor treats you exactly like the high chikungunya patient. Is that the right treatment for you? You may not have slept 3 days in a row, and that may be causing this thing. Doctor will tell you, okay, today no screens, you go to sleep early. Next day you may be fine because all you have is fatigue. Suppose he gives you all, okay, fatigue is one of the symptoms that a chikungunya patient has. Therefore, let me treat you for chikungunya. Is that going to work for you? These are two different situations. These are two different needs. So you cannot treat a low risk pregnant woman in the same way that high risk happens. You know this, again, go back to evidence. First of all, when you say this, you know your common sense will understand it. Apart from common sense, you want more evidence? Okay, go to evidence. All of the countries that have midwifery care within their maternity care systems, they are the ones which have less mortality rates for mother and babies. Which means that a different kind of approach is needed for low risk women. This is why we know that the midwife is the expert of natural birth. The doctor, the OB/GYN, is the expert of high risk birth. A midwife will never go and interfere and tell an OB how to do his job. Shouldn't. A good midwife should never be in a position doing that. In a similar way, we need an OB to understand that his training or her training does not include moving in labor, birthing with gravity, no episiotomy. They are not trained for that. You cannot go into Udupi Upahar and say, I want Lebanese food right now. Right? He does not make it. And yet what's happening? External, the system has made one production line. So this production line process itself is a result of industrialization. Not just in birth. We have production line in education, we have production line in agriculture. Doesn't matter what it is. On so and so dates, spray this on everybody. On animal farming, why do we have so much antibiotics in our chicken? Production line. Third day, you give this injection. Day number 12, you do this. It's a factory process. And in many things in our life, maybe somehow we can, like in Malayalam there's this phrase, you can live with the production process. It's still not ideal for you. But in birth, it really comes out. Because birth is very different from any kind of other mainstream or production line process. Because the baby is different, mother is different. Therefore, we do not have an external system that understands birth. We have production line. Production line is the worst. Now you're talking about two people each. Mother is there, baby is there. What do we know about birth? We know that birth is unique. WHO last year, when they changed the Friedman curve, you should not dilate 1 centimeter every hour. Many hospitals in India, I'm sure they're still looking at it with that time frame. The rule is that every 1 hour you should dilate 1 centimeter. Now they have revised it last year. In between last year and 30 years, the last 30 years of practice, women were actually implemented. They were subjected to this rule. Now the revision says it is normal. It is called progress even if you dilate 1 centimeter every 4 hours. So think of what happened in between. Think about the trauma about the women in between that. Right? At the same time, if you did not bring all of these rules, simultaneously, both thoughts have to exist simultaneously. If you didn't bring any of these rules, what happens? The woman knows, the midwife knows, waiting is a big part of birth. In which kind of natural, organic or a natural way of existing is waiting not a part of it? You heard the story of the children who plant the tree and every day he'll dig it up to see if the roots have grown more and more. You heard that story, right? You can't do that. You have to let it go and the roots grow. You water it and you wait. And you observe it and you wait. And you give it the nourishment and you wait. You were doing that for 9-10 months. You were not looking at the baby all the time, like at the time when you're not doing too many scans, that is. You waited, it grew, it grew, it grew. then it knows how to come out. At the last minute, you cannot tell this body that, okay, if you are not dilating 1 centimeter every hour, I will put in your chart failure to progress, and now you need not the inducement, you need the augmentation. I'll give you more medicine. We need to go fast. So time is a big factor in external. This is why women have bad births, because we are not waiting, because birth has become like knee replacement surgery. It has been put in the same category. Okay, it should take only this much time. How do you know? What is the position of this baby? What is the intention of this baby? What is the lesson it's learning? What is the mother's pelvis like? Only the baby knows all of these things. So the external system that we are in is not designed to treat each birth. You can say, they have words. WHO will put out this notice. Each birth should be seen as unique, and every mother's body is unique and different. Therefore, they can say all these things. Who is practicing it? That is another thing of the external, right? External system has its beliefs, like that comes from the training. Doctor is trained that they should dilate every mother. They will want it. Because otherwise for them, what are they thinking? It's not good practice. Correct. Because we are in an external system where the doctor is the expert, not the woman. To collaborate, and we women unfortunately live in a system where we are not encouraged to collaborate. Right? Then external system has a definition, and this external system, 3 minutes more, is that it?
Third point.
Third point. This external system in birth is a reflection of the bigger external system. As a woman, from when you are small, you are told that you have a place. നിനക്ക് പറഞ്ഞ സ്ഥലത്ത് നീ പോയിരുന്ന് മിണ്ടാതെ ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് കേൾക്കണം. Same happens in birth. Right? In a birth, your doctor is almost the authority figure that your parent was with you, your teacher was with you. And what are we women trained to do? We are trained. So just like, in a way, it's not as bad, but we have heard this phrase, you're groomed. Child sexual abusers or child sexual abusers are only people who have power and authority. That's how they begin the process. You've heard of this term, grooming. Yeah? From our childhoods, women are groomed to submit. And the woman who submits the best is given the highest reward, right? You submit with a smile, okay.
You cooperated
well, yeah. She's not cooperating. What does that mean? I have to lie still when you do repeated PVs, which is painful for me. So many women have so much trouble, Shut up and listen to authority. So this is when we really face it in one of the most vulnerable times in childbirth. That is why it feels so traumatic. But actually the roots of it start way in our childhoods. Right? We are taught to believe that obedience is a virtue. Obedience is not a virtue. How can a woman be a strong participant in her life? How can you be a strong mother tree for your children? How can you be the heart of your home if all you know is to obey? Mother is the way shower. Mother is the one with the intuition. Not just for parenting, for the family unit. Wisdom, where does it come from? Obedience is not a virtue. Finding your own voice is the virtue. Knowing when to give in, knowing how to change. Right? So these are the main things in the external. This is why we have bad birth, because the system outside is designed this way and we are designed to submit in many, many ways. But there are internal things also. I will just say the points, right? Internal is, what is my belief system? And we cannot keep saying that you change. Why did they do it to me? They do it to me. All your justification, the questions are all valid. But if you want to make a change, we have to come to the heart of it. And in the heart of the exploration, you have to come to the question and be honest. When you explore and ask, what did I do to put myself here? What do I change to make sure that this will not be the same thing, right? So your belief systems. One belief system is definitely obedience is a virtue. It's not, right? Being the good girl, being the good child. Finally, it's like one of the mothers that had a very bad experience there, what she said is, I did everything they asked me. Still, why did they traumatize me so much? Because you almost think that if I do everything, then I will be safe, and that's what we feel. Why do we toe the line? We toe the line so that we'll be safe. But in the maternity care system, the more you toe the line, you are brought to really face that harsh reality that the more you toe the line, there is no guarantee that you're safe because you're toeing the line. That's really what shocks us. This is just an intense experience of actually what's happening in our daily life. If you really think about it, right? So your belief systems and what brought you here, child wounds. If I just sit and give in, this danger will pass. What kind of a childhood did you have? That makes you behave in certain ways to authority, right? Your self-worth issues. Do I have a voice? No, that is not acceptable to me, right? Of all the moms that I have encountered, maybe I've seen maybe less than 10 who had the, what is it, the like in English, the balls to say, she had the ovaries to say, no, I don't like that doctor, I'm going to check another one. Throughout the pregnancy, they kept searching. And finally, they came to a care provider, they came to a birth center. Why did they arrive there? Because she kept saying, this is not good enough for me. She had that inner thing to continue saying that. Many of us don't have that. See, what I'm saying now, I'm in my 40s and saying this. When I was in my 20s, I didn't have this. So I understand. But the point is that these are places we have to figure out inside ourselves. A sad birth, you cannot just point. It's very, very bad. The system has to change. The system changes with all of us making our own decision more consciously, figuring out how to do it. If you're a lawyer, you're working with it. If you're an organization, you're working with it, figuring out. We need multiple inputs to change it. Right now, where we are is we have few birth centers, we have childbirth educators, and then you cross your heart and pray and hope. Right? We all know that's not good enough. It has to change in multiple ways. So that's my take on why do we have the sad births, and there are areas, each of these areas. These are life situations. Birth situations open our eyes to life situations. And they are both intertwined. And I was really shocked at hearing some of the stories that came to your page. So many, like you were saying, so many. Like, we have to have a venue for listening to them, hearing them. Right now, what we do have, and this is where I find inadequacy, is we have a space for them to say it. After that, now what? We have to construct those spaces also. There is a part of healing and realignment. Wound. Now what is happening? I have a wound. I recognize I've been wounded. I want to tell you I was wounded. I was wounded like this. I was wounded like that. We need to say that. But in a process, we need additional next. So those stories over there were really difficult. Really difficult to hear.
There is one comment
that I will ask as a question also.
This current comment.
Can I just...
Yeah, you want me to read that?
Because if I read it later.
Okay. So, yes. Every woman assumes that it won't happen to her, that she will have a normal birth. Only when she goes into the system and experiences it, she will understand why we are screaming from the rooftops. Exactly. Now, this I want to take as a point. I want to give as a challenge to women. My work is not just, my real life's work is to hold a woman by her shoulders, share my heart with her, and remind her how powerful she is. Fix it. If you really want to fix it, that has to happen inside, right? So this is a great comment that leads me to that. Every woman believes. So let me just challenge you with a lot of love, those who are hearing me, right? Challenge means not pour in Allah. It's an invitation to think about it in another layer, right? Why did we assume that it won't happen to her? As women, you have assumed that you are safe in a family where close family members have groped you, right? You have grown up in family situations where close family members have cheated your parents out of their family inheritance, right? And many more. We can look at many more things like that. Where does my assumption of safety come from? This is a very key question, especially as you're raising children. We are trained or we are groomed by the external system to believe that if you listen to everything I say, I will keep you safe. In the real world, everything is about numbers and finances. Who determines how long a hospitalization goes? The insurance company does. Right? These are realities. We have to connect the dots behind. Why do I assume that I am safe? One of the reasons is that women don't feel strong enough to shout their bad birth stories from the rooftops. Right? They are discouraged. So this is about a woman's voice. Are you listening to a woman's voice when she says her bad story as equally as she says her good story? Now, one of the things that,
everybody's just
happy
if she is
happy child.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that enough
Is that enough
to have a healthy
to have a healthy child?
and shut up?
And shut up.
That's what I was going to say. And then be quiet. Right? We have umpteen mothers. I have a mother who's working with me on re-establishing. She feels so disconnected from her child that what she told me is, and I know this feeling, I know what she's saying. She says, I love my child, but a part of me says that I'm doing drama. I'm pretending. And I'm sure there are a lot of mothers who understand this layer. In a woman's mind, there are so many layers. What kind of love is it? Is it beautiful love? We are capable of beautiful love. Not that beautiful love is bad. But when an experience is designed to be saturated with primal love, like one amma puli that loves her cub, right? This is how women are designed to love. And when you don't have that flow happen, some part of you knows it. Beautiful love is not bad. I'm just saying that the woman gets feeling of conflict when she realizes that there's a layer.
Because I think people are
beautiful, beauty.
Kadame.
Like, think of a good marriage that does not, it's a loveless but good marriage. What makes it go? It's good kadama. We are good people. We know how to make it work. It's not that marriage is a bad thing. But that does not mean that the component of a completely love-saturated marriage is also not a reality. Some people have that. Right? Same thing with the birth or with how you show love. Sometimes for some mothers, they can sense it. And when I bring her back to primal recognition, she's like, this is the message she said. When I did that exercise, she said, I started feeling a butterfly-like feeling in the top of my abdomen, she said. I've never felt that before. I'm like, oxytocin, right? But mothers recognize this. Some people, why is it not enough to have a healthy child? Again, question to the audience. What is a healthy child? What is a healthy newborn? Alive, 10 fingers, 10 toes. That is what we are defining as health. This alive 10 fingers and 10 toes, we used to have 300 years ago also. And we still have infant mortality. Means through this process, we have not eradicated what we have been afraid of. And in the process, what's happened? What is a healthy child? This is a very important, bigger question. Like you're making a new generation for a country also. This is where I as a journalist, I keep talking to my journalist friends saying, Do you not see that this is not just about mother's trauma, it has a layer? What kind of a generation are you building? You want to go to the moon and you want to do all these advancements, and you make these babies fearful, disconnected, traumatized, unable to express their own voice, handicapped inside their inner psyches and in their bodies, and you expect India to be this wonderful country that we were? Why did we used to be so good before? If you interfere with birth, right, you're interfering with everything in life. So much more than we are willing to acknowledge. So again, what is this healthy Madhyo? It is not in the healthy child that health is regained. For me, I know for a fact that it is in the healthy orientation of a woman. You kill the spirit of a woman, the entire forest will die. The entire village will die. You cannot continue to hack and make into pieces a woman's psyche and expect tomorrow to be good. There's only one person. It's the Amma spirit, right? It's the deep and sacred feminine that knows the way out of so many things. Why did we have old civilizations that had, like in many of the American Indian tribes, the shaman would be the old wise woman. You don't see these archetypes, but if you do your research, it's there. Should we go to war or not? This tribe has done this thing. This woman will say, no, don't go to war now. And she will say, not because they are pacifists, because they're wise enough to know, is this the best time to go to war or not? A woman's wisdom is really what keeps the balance of everything going. We are living in a time where the mental process or masculine wisdom has oversaturated everything. Think of gardening, right? Masculine wisdom will clear the weeds. Weed killer, what is it? Why is it killing all of us? It's not just killing the weeds. You have Roundup sprayed on the wheat to kill all the weeds. Weeds have the same similar cell biology as we have inside, our microbiome, our gut microbiome. We eat this wheat, which has already been sprayed with it. It goes into our guts and starts killing our gut microbiome. We don't have enough women in places of power. This is why. If we do, things will change. But this is a reflection. So what is health? What is a healthy baby? Is it enough? You cannot have a healthy baby if the mother is in pieces. Health is not physical. We are trained. So this is what happened when we took on the attitudes and the learnings of the West. We became so saturated with it. Their mentality does not have integrative thinking. Till 10 years ago, do you know, I have met doctors who say, you go with a headache and they'll give you medicine, and if you say, you know, my tummy is upset from eating this thing, maybe that's the cause of the headache. They have asked me, your head is over here, your stomach is down here. How are they connected? So can you see, we all know that they are connected now. Many doctors will acknowledge. But can you see the thought process that sees everything as isolated? And if we cannot see that they're all working together, that is when we are okay with the sentence, baby is all healthy. Mother had postpartum hemorrhage, we had to take out her uterus. We helped her. That baby is alive. We're happy that baby is alive. But who's parenting this baby? Are we raising a healthy child? Are we raising a healthy teenager? Are we contributing to a healthy citizen to this country? If the mother is in fragments, who is going to nourish the journey of that child? Then what is the meaning of a healthy child? If all layers of the mother are not honored, if she is not given her space, position of respect, we cannot have healthy children. Why do we have bullying? Why is there lack of compassion? Because we, for 40, 50 years, we have been chopping away the roots of every woman who goes into birth. Nothing good will come out of that. This is why, women, we have to come back to the center. That woman's voice, your voice, how do you discern? Even in birth spaces, there are layers where I grapple with this. Again, the woman, women have to reach a place where where I will not believe anything you say until it makes sense to me. Reject everything. Feed your intuition. Don't believe the people that say, oh, Papa, nee, how can you make a decision? Yeah, what? What? You don't have brains. You don't have sense. What is so spectacular about somebody else that you don't have? Right?
Okay, Reba, so
Okay, Reba, so
what can be done to
what can be done to
Prevent. Okay. Just hang on. I have to plug in my phone to charge. You want to read some comments? You read comments. I'll be right back.
I can't read
I can't read
because I'll echo
because I'll echo
and people will hate me.
and people will hate me.
What can be done to prevent? One, go to an evidence-based care provider. If they're far away from you, make the journey. It's worth it. It's worth it to not, like, there are a lot of doctors that I like, and I'm saying this only in the most general, in the general sense. It's worth going to a good care provider and not giving yourself over to the wolves. Because we are living in a time where even the doctors with the good intentions, they do not understand yet. See, real orientation will take, mothers will have to talk about this. There are many doctors who, after talking to the mothers, then they begin to understand, oh, was it this bad?
What's that?
Right?
What's that?
It's my chair. All right. Okay, it's charging. So that's one thing. You have, if you want a good birth, don't assume that somebody, don't go to Udupi Upahar and say that you want Lebanese. It's as simple as that. Only what somebody knows they can help you. They may have the best intentions. But if they don't know, they don't know. Right? And for those of you, the same point, those of you who are trying to heal from it, understand that that was a wrong decision. Again, there are very bad practitioners who do things vindictively. I know that. I've heard lots of stories. I'm not mentioning those stories because that is purposeful violence from an insecure person. Right? You also remember doctors or any care provider, they're also human. They are the product of their own wounds. They're all in a very bad system that knows how to decapitate. Healing is not part of any language. Right? They are also products of that. And unfortunately, many of you have been at the hands of people like that. I'm not talking about them. But basically, if you're going for standard practice item, just use your common sense. If you go to a person who knows how to give you good birth, your chances of a good birth are very, very high. Right? Solutions for a sad birth. Is that also what you are asking? How do we make sure it doesn't happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for good birth, okay, care provider. Second, I know we always talk about childbirth education. And I know our country has amazing childbirth educators. There's lots of really fabulous childbirth educators that I have been happy to go to when I was pregnant. They didn't exist at the time. But we also have, remember, people are wounded. Wounded people have to figure out their own stuff, or their focus is very different. Again, to choose a good independent childbirth educator, I always tell this mother the same thing that I tell people when they ask, how will I find a good doctor? When you go and sit and meet a person, right, there will be something that resonates. The hearts will connect, or your eyes will connect, or you're with them and you feel this connection feeling, this attraction to them, Rely on that, not on how many reviews they have, not on how many followers they have. Another thing is, there are many childbirth educators who don't have, recently I was talking to a friend of mine, she said after she had her C-section, later she found out that the childbirth educator she had gone to, many of her clients have had C-section. And then she is figuring out what was the whole point then. Like, why you're not going for childbirth education to prevent a C-section, of course, but avoiding or having a good evidence-based birth is definitely one of the outcomes that you would expect from good childbirth education.
So what is the difference
between
good childbirth education
and
mediocre childbirth
mediocre
education?
childbirth education?
Because people don't understand.
Okay.
People
I'm
just
going to
get
say
number
two phrases. Yeah, I'm going to say two phrases here, and I want it to be. I know that the way I articulate things is not very, very simple, but I'm going to say the phrases anyway. So you know that we have a thing. We are all familiar with what we call the establishment, right? And we are taught to be anti-establishment and all that stuff. In today's day and age, establishment is the existing system oppression. They don't treat properly, all that established, the system around us, right? Same system that tells you to be a good girl, be quiet, and all that is part of establishment. Now what we are struggling with is, and this is a phrase from Dr. Shiva, who talks a lot. He's somebody that I follow, and I find his phrase is perfect. The not so obvious establishment. Because they are actually telling you things that the establishment itself is telling you, but in much more tweaked way. You get it? If she's still teaching you to be a good girl, or given to the doctor, or if you are with a person, yeah?
It's breaking.
Now, that's probably my internet. Is it back now?
Slightly breaking.
Okay. Now? Nothing else has changed here. Just the back now?
Keep talking.
Okay. Now, good.
Yeah, now it's better.
So what happens is, if they are still telling you, if they are not encouraging you in very clear terms, you think for yourself. You are the center. The mother, you are the center. If you are within your rights, see, somebody who does not make you feel empowered that you have rights in this thing. If it's just somebody who just gives you information and now you do whatever you want with it. That is also fine. They still tick off the boxes of being a good childbirth educator. But what is the attitude she is giving you? Or he, I don't know if there are men educators. What are they nourishing inside yourself? Again, another thing that I always say is, how are they living their lives? For me, right, and this is just, I'm sharing what my parameters are. Right? Mentorship is a huge part of a woman recovering. Right? And having a mentor. Having a good, and who would you accept as a mentor? Same qualifications you put for, I would put for good educator. She's living life on her own terms, or she has, there is a grounding, there is a thought process, there is compassion, there is heart-based wisdom, there is experience with living what she's talking about, then yes, for me those are factors that matter for me.
Okay.
The fluff is not, and is not really one of the factors. And what I'm saying is, if you're genuine to yourself, if you can find your own authentic voice, every mother can see through, okay, do I want this one, or do I want that one, or do I want the other? Or all three are not acceptable to me. Let me go and find somebody else.
Yeah.
That woman has the power. She has the right. You have absolute right in your own choice.
Because a lot of people, I just bring it on record. A lot of people commented yesterday and day before about their traumatic experience. Had gone through childbirth education, but never knew any of that.
What?
They didn't know that membranes shouldn't be done. They didn't know routine pelvic examination shouldn't be done. They didn't know that induced until labor pain. They didn't know. Then what's the point of the education?
That's the point. And if you don't know what the education is supposed to have, then you don't know whether you got good education or not, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
These are
basically
very, very important things too.
A, B,
A,
K,
B, K,
Z.
X, Z.
And then you imagining
And
that
then you imagining that you got it.
Yeah, and you don't even know if between A and D, was there supposed to be 10 characters or 2? You
Yes.
have no idea,
Yes.
right? You have no idea. There's no reference.
So the
If
shortest
you
way.
So the
give
shortest
three
way.
classes, then you would know. Okay, those were the ones I really liked.
Correct. So the
Correct.
shortest way,
So the shortest way,
according to you,
according to you,
is when an
is
educator
when
talks
an
about
educator talks about
your maternal rights,
your maternal rights,
what
Yeah.
you need to
Is
stand
she
up
what you
for.
need to
solid?
stand up for.
Is that person solid? You know that word solid, like, you can feel when somebody's solid. Does she tell you, does she stress on the fact that you have rights? What are her outcome statistics? Same like a doctor. Why don't we actually ask about that?
Okay.
Okay.
Like when I talk to people about it, I keep saying, whatever you have to do, just go to a birth center, go to a birth center, go to a birth center. If you're in Hyderabad, go there. If you're here, go here. If you're there, go there. Only when that couple has no options will I be like, okay, now let's see which hospital can you be at, which is the best of the hospital. Not that, okay, I've given you all the information, you just go to the hospital, let's see what happens. It's not, you can't be blasé when you know that the system is not working for a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to conclude now.
We have to conclude now.
Reba, can you tell how?
Reba, can you tell how you help these women?
Sorry?
How can you help these
How
women?
can you help these women?
We spoke about the
Oh,
trauma.
We spoke about the trauma.
Who have had
Now what?
trauma,
Now what?
I would really see, we don't have a thing like, we don't have a system or a program. And when you guys from CPN, when you had me to come over and put together the C-section thing, how the C-section thing started was with me working with the women, taking it in. And trauma is trauma, and me having figured out my own trauma. I don't have birth trauma at all, but I do have childhood trauma. I do have the layers of the mind, encountering the heart, and how did I go there? How did I journey to that space? I remember all of that stuff. So I've used that to help C-section trauma, because I also I've been a birth worker for 12 years. It's a very beautiful overlapping of two things that I'm good at, right? So I would say if you're in a city where you can find, again, a counselor has to feel solid. Your voice of authenticity should find a resonance in them. You see their eyes. It should not be somebody just take notes, give you medicine, and let you go. Birth trauma is not addressed like this, right? Find a person. Don't be afraid of shopping for that person. Okay, that person, next appointment, I'm not going there. I'm going to next place.
Let me tell you something. People are not going to do all
People are
that
not going
research.
to do all that research.
I'm just going to ask you.
I'm just going to ask you to come.
I'm just going to ask them
I'm
to
just
come
going
to
to
you.
ask them to come to you.
So
Yeah,
what?
I can
So what?
do a C-section. Okay, I do sessions on C-section recovery. I also do life mentorship where you work with the recovery, and then I can bring you, on a long-term basis. I have a program of modules like that. Third, that I really resonate with is inner child, because a lot of our problems as adults come because the child is still hungering for it. The child is submitting to abuse and trauma. There also you will submit to abuse and trauma because you don't know how to do it another way. These kind of inner work, I also will highly recommend body work. Like you had effort Yasmin on, we always connect that to birth and breastfeeding. But craniosacral therapy and somebody who has the capacity that Yasmin has for trauma, doesn't matter for what, accident trauma, she's talking about strokes. Remember that healing is healing, body is body. And healing one trauma starts to niggle away and start healing another one. That I know for sure. We are not fragmented and compartmentalized beings. We are multi-dimensional, multi-layered, intertwined, magical beings of resonance. This is why getting a hug from somebody can feel so, oh, what a relief. Where is that coming in? The mind will be like, oh, was it the chromosomes talking to each other?
Reba, we have exactly 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Okay.
You have a session.
You have a session coming up now.
On the 10th and 11th, I'm going to do the inner child.
Okay.
The C-section thing, when I do it in depth, I will announce it.
Okay. Thank you, Reba.
Okay. Thank you, Reba.
There's just 10 seconds.
That's
There's just
all.
10 seconds now.
Thank you for letting me blabber.
Thank-
Bye.